it's Relationships at Work, a leadership podcast helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher. Thanks for joining us for another mini episode. These are just quick, valuable bits of information to help your mindset for the week ahead. They're all inspired by the weekly Runout newsletter. If you haven't checked that out in a while, certainly encourage you to do so. It's free. Just go to relationshipsatworkshow.com. Right there you can sign up, or off our LinkedIn company page. You can do that too. This is a trap we're talking about today, a trap that we're nudged into as leaders. We don't mean to, we don't want to, but sometimes we feel like it's expected of us. We also see it around us from other leaders, from our colleagues, from those we report to. And I think it's a big problem in organizations because our teams aren't dumb and they see right through it. What am I talking about? Well, today I'm talking about, as leaders, are we performing or performative? There is a line, it does exist, between being a leader and looking like one. And in many organizations, it feels like that line gets dangerously blurry. Have you heard the one about the all-staff meeting where a leader says all the right things about listening, supporting, and quote-unquote, building a culture of trust? But then that same leader does exactly the opposite over the next 6 months around feedback and accountability? Or have you seen leaders with carefully curated leadership posts about transparency and vulnerability? And you've seen that leader in action at work, and they just continue to do their usual closed-door decision-making. Or how about those leaders that talk of responsibility to their bosses when they receive those low engagement scores, but then they turn it around and blame their middle management for being the problem and the ones who really need to be better? To them, to the performative leaders, it's about how to report progress rather than having impact. This is a difference between performative leadership and actual performance leadership. And it's costing organizations trust, engagement, and culture. Performative leadership isn't just harmless optics either. It's misleading. It signals safety while quietly reinforcing the status quo. It erodes employee belief in leadership. And worst of all, it teaches teams that showing up matters more than following through. That's dangerous. Performative leadership is about visibility, not substance. It checks boxes. It posts updates. It says the right words with just enough emotion to seem real. But when you pull back the curtain, there's actually little action, no accountability, and not much change over time. It's the leader who starts every meeting with, "I just want to acknowledge ... but never follows through with meaningful solutions. It's the panel speaker who talks about empathy, but never has time for their team members when they need them. It's the department head who champions mental health one day and micromanages vacation requests the next. Performative leadership is about being seen doing the work of leadership, but that's not the same as doing the work. On the other hand, performing as a leader means actually delivering on what your role demands, not just from a business perspective, but from a human one. It's saying, "I don't know, but I'll find out." It's circling back to a hard conversation rather than just letting them fade because they're too difficult. It's following up on feedback even when it's uncomfortable. That's performance leadership. Performing well as a leader isn't always polished. It might be messy. It usually is. And it might be vulnerable. And it might not fit in a tidy, quote-unquote, box, but it shows up. It delivers results. It's effective. And it builds trust, not through proclamations, but through consistency. Sadly, many workplace cultures still heavily reward the optics of leadership. Visibility gets mistaken for value, style for substance, and too often we mistake charisma for character. Why? Because performative leadership is easier to digest. It's simpler. It's less effort to say than to do. But it's also fragile. And once employees start noticing the gap between what's said and what's done, it all crumbles. Real leadership takes longer. It's less shiny, but it sticks. And the people who experience it, they talk about it. They stay for it. They grow because of it. So the question for this mini episode, how do we know we as leaders are providing performative versus performing leadership? First, we could ask for anonymous feedback on our follow-through. Not just, did I listen, but Did I do anything about what I heard? Listening without action feels performative. Listening with accountability builds trust. So if you can get feedback around that, do so. Another thing is audit your last 5 leadership actions. Were they responsive to real needs, or were they timed to be visible? You might be surprised how much your calendar reveals about your priorities. Another thing is be consistent when nobody's watching. Performative leadership craves an audience. Performing well as a leader doesn't need one. Define your values, let your actions align with them, and then be quiet about it and consistent about it. And last, measure our impact over milestones. It's easy to fall into the trap of tracking milestones. Launched the program, held the meeting, sent the update, as evidence of leadership. But real leadership isn't about what gets crossed off the list, it's about what changes because of it. So try to pay attention to decisions you make and actual impact over time that they result in. Your team doesn't need a perfectly branded version of you. They need a reliable, accountable, and human one. Performing well will always beat being performative. It might just not get as much attention. And that's okay, because real leaders like you understand the difference. And that brings to a close another mini episode of Relationships at Work, the leadership podcast, helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. I'm Russell. Look forward to talking to you again. This was a mini episode, so that means on Monday we're going to talk to you again with one of our fantastic guests. And then we're back again with a solo episode next week, same time on a Thursday. All right, take care of yourself, and we look forward to talking to you again. Bye.